Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Mediterranea Metal Cruise podcast. Don't miss out and hit that subscribe button. We got for you Nibbs Carter from Saxon.
Hi Alex, hi Katie, hi everybody. Great to be here.
What would you say is the biggest challenge about living in Germany and what makes it the perfect place to live?
Biggest challenge living in Germany, firstly, is language. And I think anybody would agree with that. And then once you can overcome that, then there's small cultural differences, but nothing really big. I mean, my wife and I and the kids, we like to live pretty much in the countryside anyway. So we keep it quiet and we visit the noise of the city whenever we feel like it. And so my wife's German American anyway, so we've kind of, my wife Tina, she lived with us in England from 1990 basically, and then we moved to Germany 2004. So we pretty much picked up Tina's German traits or cultural habits and stuff like that. We were always back and forward between England and Germany anyway, with holidays and family visits and stuff. And then we decided to move over there. We just felt like the health and education system were an upgrade, so to speak, on what we already had in England up until 2003, 2004. And yeah, so we moved over and took advantage of what we could in Germany regarding health and education. And you know, as the years progressed, it meant it didn't really matter where I was as far as work was going. You know, composing, writing, and sharing ideas with the band became really, really easier from about 2000 onwards with software and digital media and stuff like that. So then we just explored a little bit further. My wife, as I said, has German American citizenship, so we were able to take advantage of that as well. And here in California, the climate's quite a change compared to northwestern Europe, and we take advantage of that as well. So I spend probably a third of the year here. And over the last few years, it's been a bit of a shake-up anyway because of COVID. But now people seem to be trusting the environment to get back out on the road. And Saxon are going to be going back out on the road in the next few weeks for the rest of the year, basically. So I'll be going back to Europe on Wednesday and a few days with my elder children there, and then rehearsals in England from Thursday the 8th. And I don't know which day of the week it'll be, but it's from the 8th, 9th and 10th rehearsals, and then we're out on the road. So looking forward to that. But cultural differences, I think, is probably one of the things that can shake up people who move from one country to another. I've been lucky in that as a traveling musician, you get to see lots of different cultures anyway. And so that kind of opened my eyes to accepting people for what they are, wherever they live, you know. And yeah, in that respect, I'm fairly lucky. I don't mind pretty much where I am, really. You know, as long as I can get back to my family pretty quickly, then I'm okay. So I'm not really a typical example of what it's like, what's to expect when you move from one country to another, because I'm pretty much a gypsy anyway.
But I do understand that climate plays a big role. Like you mentioned that you like California because of the weather, right?
Yeah,
So,
that's one thing that we discovered, and my wife has a couple of health conditions that really get affected by like northwestern climate, and that's something that developed over a few years. And then we realized that the drier the climate can be, the better. And where we are here, it's north of Los Angeles, about 35 miles, Santa Clarita it's called, and it's like half desert climate. So it can get up pretty. I mean, we're still in winter, spring at the moment, but like yesterday, for instance, it was like 18, 19 degrees, and today it's a little bit shady. Probably get up to like 13, 14 degrees or something. Nighttime, though, it cools right down like it does, like in desert, half desert. And so it can get down to pretty much freezing, but it warms up again pretty much during the day. And as you get further into spring, summer, then it's like, yeah, you're hanging around between 20, 25 and 30, and then it'll cool down again at night, and that's really good for my wife, and I'm fine with that too.
Yeah, I mean, you escape the gray weather, I guess, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's strange. The grass isn't always greener on the other side, though. You know, there are ups and downs for wherever you are in the world. But having lived in Northwest Europe for like all of my life, you know, it seems like the grass is greener on this side because there's just generally more blue sky and sunshine. You know, 300 days of the year than compared to the other way around. You're lucky if you get that for like 50 days of the year in Britain or Germany, you know, Northwest Europe.
Oh, you mentioned that you speak German. Would you like to say something in German? Maybe some insults or something funny?
For the Germans.
Ja, mein Hund stinkt. Warum? Ja, es ist egal. Guck mal, ich rede ganz langsam für euch. Ihr könnt ein bisschen recherchieren oder nachgucken, was ich gesagt habe. Ich liebe euch alle, aber nur, wenn ihr freundlich sind.
Sehr schön. Deine Aussprache ist sehr gut. Your pronunciation is excellent.
Thank you.
Shall I translate it now or do we make subtitles?
No, you translate later.
Ich kann verstehen auch.
Oh, great! So wir haben eine deutsche Show. Sehr schön. Yeah.
Okay.
Genau. One of the Germans' favorite words is genau. Like exactly. Genau.
Well, last night I was at an interesting event here in Santa Clarita. There was a 102-year-old concentration camp Holocaust survivor, and he's a pastor, Joe Alexander. 102 years old, and he survived. He went from camp to camp to camp to camp. He was born in Poland, and when the war broke out, he was 16, and within days he was in a concentration camp, and went from concentration camp to camp to camp to camp. But he just kept getting lucky. He just would like go instead of going left in a line, which was certain death, he would sneak back into the right lane and stuff like that on selection at the entrance to the concentration camps and things like that. And it was quite spellbinding. Listen to him like talk about all this stuff, you know. You know, like my wife, her grandparents were Jewish. Well, on one side of the family. So when we actually got to meet him last night, that was wild. Like speaking to somebody that's been through all of that stuff, and he was so humble. You know, stuff like one of the questions. I'm digressing a little bit here, but like he spoke for about 25, 30 minutes without interruption. The amount of energy he had for a 102-year-old in front of 350 people, being filmed, and he recalled so much stuff, and then he just said, okay, anybody got any questions? And it was like crazy. But anyway, some people asked him some pretty like painful questions. But do you have any hate towards Germans? That was one big straight up question. And he said, no, I don't. I'm not the kind of guy who holds a grudge against anybody.
Right.
I couldn't believe that. I absolutely couldn't believe it. Do you have nightmares? No. But one thing he said he still doesn't understand is like, for instance, in the United States, 70% of high school students don't have any idea what the Holocaust was.
Right. Okay.
And so basically he was saying, denialists, Holocaust denialists, wake up, don't deny that this kind of thing ever happened. So that was a crazy night for my wife and I. But we were invited, and it was called off a couple of weeks ago because the beautiful weather here turned our street into a river. There's been quite a lot of rain coming down here in California in the last Southern California and
Oh,
North
that's good,
California.
right?
Yeah, I mean, whatever. So we couldn't go 2 weeks ago, but we ended up going last night, and that was like pretty wild ride, an amazing thing to hear somebody surviving all that thing, to say, no, I'm not the kind of person to hold a grudge against anybody. Unbelievable.
Yeah, but there's also a lot of power in forgiveness. And I think these events are incredibly important to remember and to make sure that something like that will never happen again.
Yeah. Exactly. That was his thing. It's awareness, and don't be ignorant, and be aware, and discuss it.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, there are so many other historical facts that we don't know. In general, we're not aware, and can be that they were facts that determined a lot of things that we have today, but
Yep,
we're not
that's
aware.
right.
We could try to have a segue from that, but it was so important to talk about that. I'm glad that you brought that up. But speaking of Germany, so very soon in March, you mentioned that before, you're going to start your tour with
That's
Judas
right.
Priest and Uriah Heep, and you also have some concerts in Germany. And are you already excited for the tour?
Yeah, totally. Very much so. Yeah, it's been strange because, since 2000, like, I don't know, 16, 17, 18, the band Saxon's had really good momentum with critics and touring and making records. And then when 2018 came around, we came up with a record called Thunderbolt, and Judas Priest came out with Firepower, and we went out on tour in the States together. I think we played about 30 shows or something, and we went all over, and we were East Coast, Midwest, across to the West Coast, and it was great everywhere. A really, really good tour, successful for both bands. The records were well accepted and stuff. And then into 2019, we did a few shows, and then Biff got sick. He had a heart problem, had to have an operation. We had to kind of cool it for a bit, calm down, and let Biff recover properly. But we'd already pretty much got the next record written and almost fully recorded. Gave Biff a bit more time to rethink his melodies and text, because he was kind of in recovery mode. And then when we finally came out with the record and did some shows again, then it was all stopped again with COVID. So we kept that record just before releasing it, kept it back. And a lot of bands didn't have that luxury. A lot of bands already released something and couldn't tour it. And so we were lucky that we'd held it back. And but it really messed so many bands up for quite a while. So that cut that long story out of the way, and we're back on the road now. We're all really excited. It's a similar thing again. Priest have got a new record. We've got a new record. Uriah Heep came out with the record already last year. And yeah, it's going to be great. We're all showing off our latest record. We got Brian Tatler with us. He's been enjoying playing some shows with us in the last few months. And yeah, it's going to be great to actually get it back out on the road again and get some momentum. It's strange when you get out and do some shows and then stop again for 6 weeks or a couple of months. And you try to schedule something and it gets pushed back for whatever reason. There's been a few things that have gotten in the way of us being able to get out, but we're looking forward to it. We should be pretty much touring for the rest of the year now.
That's good.
Oh yeah, and I recently came across a Facebook post where a fan asked to be a summit of Avantasia when the band will be back. And Toby replied that being in a band is as challenging as living in a marriage with several wives at the same time. How is it for you to share like your musical journey with your bandmates?
When you've been together, I mean, I've known Biff for a really long time now, and Nigel for a really long time now. They're like elder brothers to me, or like uncles, and so you have like a family dynamic there. I wouldn't call it like a marriage, but you know, in some respects, yeah, you have like, you kind of take an unspoken oath. You know, you've been faithful and been there for each other. You know, so. But in a way, that's how you are with when you're in the military too, and brothers, family. So it's family, and known Dougie for a really long time now, and getting to know Brian. It's we just did a tour of South America, and in November, December, and there was a lot of traveling, and schedule was quite hard. And that kind of thing really tests you, you know, in a short space of time. And when Brian Tatler did his first shows with us last year, there was a large. His first show was in Athens, yeah, and like immediately flights delayed, cancelled, luggage lost, things like that. And then like a couple of days later, I think we were in Sweden. You know, so and we're traveling all over Europe. Brian's main challenge, not just getting on with new band members or learning new songs, it was actually getting onto an aeroplane in the right country and getting off the right aeroplane in the right country. You know what I mean? It was crazy last year, and so there was a big test for all of us. You know, being patient with each other. Musically, you know, is it working musically? It's almost like music became like secondary with the amount of traveling and stuff that you have to do. And so a big credit to Brian. He really focused, and it's an inspiration actually. You know, when you see somebody in the band really focusing and being dedicated to the music, kind of gives you an inspiration to like get back into that mood. You know. And
besides all like external, yeah, I see.
Yes, it's really good. It's an inspiration, and it's, some people call it like new blood in the body, you know, that kind of thing. I think Brian's only been married once. I'm not sure how he feels about them sharing his marriage with us. I have to speak with Brian about that.
Like marriage counseling. Maybe.
Okay, yeah.
So how has Saxon impacted your life? I mean, we'd love to hear the significance of the band in your life and, of course, in your musical journey, right?
Yeah, for me, Saxon, I was a fan of Saxon around the age of 11, 12, 13. I was born in 1966, so I'm talking 1977, 78, 79. I was starting to hear rock music a lot more as an enjoyment rather than just noise in the background of the house from my elder brothers and sisters. And I was hearing punk, I was hearing folk, I was hearing like pop, funk, classical, all kinds of stuff. But I realised that rock was a thing that you could shake your head and have an air guitar to at the school disco. And it was like a fairly easy, like a wardrobe, you know. I didn't really have to do anything. And it felt really good. And I started going to like youth centre, Jugendzentrum, or like youth clubs and that kind of thing. And rock seemed to be as well as Wham and George Michael and like New Model Army or like Stiff Little Fingers or like X-Ray Specs or I don't know, there was a load of stuff going on at that time. There was a lot of like new wave stuff like Duran Duran and like all kinds of stuff. Yazoo, electro pop, punk, but rock was like really focusing on like Iron Maiden and Judas Priest and Saxon. I mean, I was into Thin Lizzy and AC/DC, and I can remember going to a school disco and hearing a whole lot of Rosie live for the first time from AC/DC, and it was a big deal. And then hearing Crazy Train from Ozzy at a youth club. The first time I heard that was in a youth club, and it was like a vitamin booster or something. It just really made me feel good. And so I started searching for that, and then I heard 747 from Saxon as a single on the radio, actually, and I really liked it. And I went out and bought that along with Whole Lot of Rosie by AC/DC. They were the first two like heavy rock songs that I bought as singles. And I was already into Rush and Thin Lizzy and stuff like that. And I really liked trying to play the drums. Like, you can do air guitar, but I was also doing like air drums for Rush. I had a great kit. And yeah, and I used to sit on my mum's bed and like rearrange Tupperware and plastic pots and wooden spoons and stuff. It's great fun and quite cheap. And
but you were learning at least. I mean, you were practicing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, once you've got the bug, it doesn't really matter what you hit. It's your it's your favorite drum at that point. And yeah, so I realized there's something with Saxon, you know, especially in that song 747 Strangers in the Night. It's got immediately fantastic lead guitar at the beginning, and the rhythm is not totally orthodox. It sounds simple, but when you sit down and try to play it, it's not straight off the cuff. It's got a little bit of technicality to it, and I think that's what attracted me. I was into Rush already, and that is technicality, you know, AAA, you know. Yeah. So when I heard this Saxon-like version of technicality, it was like simplified, and then with a really sweet voice over it. I thought it was fantastic, and lead guitar, Biff's fantastic voice, and this like simplified technicality. I was like drawn in, and so I became a Saxon fan, and I would follow whichever singles they brought out after that. And but then I was getting really into bass guitar. You know, a couple of my friends had a punky like outfit, and they needed a bass player, and it was my birthday soon, so I got a cheap bass guitar from a shop and went and joined them. We were jamming, and then I realized I was getting more and more technically into bass, and so I basically became proficient at bass guitar, and tried a band here and tried a band there. And I mentioned earlier on with my nickname that I ended up joining a band, and that was based at a studio, and I'd pretty much got a fairly rounded idea of different bass techniques by then. Funk, pop, fusion, jazzy, funky rock. And long story short, Saxon came through the studio and they needed a bass player. They'd just finished a tour. They would like patching up demos and stuff like that. The studio called me, they knew me, and they came, went to the studio, jammed and recorded stuff with them, and Biff was impressed, and he just asked me if I would do the next studio album with them. And I was 22 at that time, and I hadn't actually been listening to Saxon that much for, you know, and I was totally aware of what was going on, you know, because Saxon used to use the studio for demoing and rehearsing, every now and then anyway. So I would see them, and one of the bands I was with, Paul Quinn, he came and jammed with us a few times, and so it's a funny thing. I always kind of compare show business or studios or being involved in that kind of thing as like taking a look behind the scenes or getting backstage at a big event or something like that. It's strange. Show business is all about show. Yeah, it's like you can hear what's going on, you can see what's going on, but you don't really know what's going on until you're in the business. You know, it's good to hear like documentaries and what's behind the music and stuff like that. It gives you a bit of an insight into it all. But when you're in there actually working with it, you know, it feels like you're like a correspondent or a journalist or something, getting a real look inside of what it's all about. And so I was kind of in the business by working at this studio, and I was a little bit blown away by being asked to do some work with Saxon. But the good thing is I was still like naive enough not to think of like people's egos or anything like that. Just head down and play. And that's something that kind of gets clogged up as you get older. You know, you kind of lose that. And it's a great thing about being unaware of your environment. You just play, and that's a good thing if you can like keep that, you know, keep hold of that spirit. And so, but anyway, yeah, Biff said to me, "Oh, that's been good working, and it'd be good if you consider doing the next studio record with us," which ended up being Solid Ball of Rock around 1990, and this was in like November 1988. And so, yeah, shake hands, bye bye everybody, and go back home to my little hometown, Cleethorpes, northeast England, and which wasn't that far away from the studio, actually, only about 30 miles or something. And yeah, I mean, I was obviously over the moon and happy and stuff like that, but it kind of felt like another job, because I'd been already working at the studio quite a bit, playing with, like I said, lots of different kinds of bands, different styles of bands. I'd already recorded with Eddie Clark from Motorhead, quite a few things, and Bernie Marsden from Whitesnake, he'd come through and, oh yeah, you can play bass with me and stuff. You get to meet a lot of people in recording studios, and it gives you an insight into why people are musicians and not just, see you later, James. You know, it's not all about show business. It's sometimes about and like really loving like music and wanting to get the best recording out of it and things like that. That's a really good foundation that I didn't realize that I was getting by hanging around a recording studio. You really get a good appreciation of what it is to make a record, especially at that time. It was still pretty much 100% analog, talking around 1984, 85, 86, and there was a lot of, you know, cutting up of audio tape and analog machines and making sure things are lined up magnetically and all this kind of stuff. It was a really interesting time. It was a crazy time when it all like got digitalized and a lot of places went out of business and stuff. That was wild. My wife was studying audio engineering to be sound engineer. She came over from Germany to finish her studies when we met on the road in 1990. She came over to London to carry on her studies, passed her exams and everything, became a sound engineer in London and then Manchester, and eventually studios were just going out of business. You know, people couldn't afford stuff, and record companies would say it's cheaper to go digital and what have you, and it was a wild time. And it really affected the music business as well, you know, and style of music. All kinds of things were going on in the early 90s. And but anyway, I'm moving a bit far off your question, but I
But
got
it's interesting. No, it's super interesting.
Yes. And I have another question. Do you have that this is happening again? Do you think that this is happening again with AI now?
I just wanted to say the same
Yeah,
because
because
so many
it's
voice acting jobs are replaced by
and
AI right
music
now.
also. I mean, we've heard that they can reproduce like Queen music, like with the voice.
yeah. Well, I haven't really checked it out that much, researched it, or actually paid that much attention to it because I'm long in the tooth. Do you know what that is? I'm an older guy now, and so I'm pretty much established in how I do stuff. I'll use software to help me, if I'm writing on this thing, which is what I do actually. I mean, in this laptop, it's a PC. I'm in here. I've got recording software, and that's basically just like record, play, rewind, but multi-track. Yeah, so it's multi-track recording, but you can also download software that can enable you to just fly in like tempo intelligent drum loops or something like that. So you've got real played drums that will adjust to the tempo of your project. So you don't really need to do much in drum department anymore. If you want it a bit more personalized, if you want it to fit with the awesome guitar riff that you've just come up with, it's quite rhythmical, and you prefer it if the drummer didn't just drum straight through it with this off the shelf drum loop that you just dragged into your project, then you've got to play something yourself a little bit more. So it helps to have a little bit of musical background. That's not AI, what I'm talking about. This is stuff that's it is artificially, it's synthesized, yeah, but it's played really, and you've got to shape it. You've got to construct that thing.
Right.
To get artificial intelligence to create something, if I could say to an artificial intelligence, okay, I want you to create a song for me. I don't need any lyrics, I don't need any vocal melodies, but I just want you to create the drums, bass and guitars for me based on this song. If I could do that, leave it and go out for a meal and go bowling with my wife or something like that, and then come back, flip on the computer, and it played it 3.5 minutes, like something that I was expecting to create, then I would probably shoot myself.
I hate to break it to you, but AI can do a lot of this already. But don't shoot yourself, because I believe that live music will always survive. Because live music is supposed to be live, and then the AI can't take that away.
Yeah, well, I don't mean I would really shoot myself, but I would be very upset. I would be very upset if it turned out to be awesome bass sound, amazing guitar sound, really dynamic. It feels like it's organically created and stuff like that. That would be pretty scary. I'm not saying that doesn't exist already. It probably does exist already, and I'm not saying that I'm ignorant towards it. I just think I do what I do, and I'm pretty happy with what I do. And as far as I know, there is a large amount of Saxon's fan base and other rock fans around the world that are pretty happy with what I do and with what our band does. So I think if we turned around and said to our fan base and the majority of rock fans around the world, that wasn't us on the last record. It was this chip, right? And sorry. And when you go out and watch us live, you won't be watching us. You'll be watching this is Android Byford, yeah. this is synced Nibbs to whatever.
Yeah.
I think they'll be a bit disappointed. I think they like it when they know that it comes from your smelly dungeon style bedroom or whatever it is, and you drag it onto the stage and you force it out in front of these people, and they're going, "Wow, yeah, that's real." What's a good example of an AI created track?
I mean, I heard that AI created a whole Drake album. I don't like that kind of music, but apparently it sounded like Drake.
Which album?
Drake,
Okay.
the rap artist Drake. AI
Okay.
created a whole album that he never made, but AI made an album when people thought it was real. But I think what you just said, this organically created, is the key because it has a soul. And I think the AI stuff doesn't have a soul.
Well, yeah, I mean, I haven't heard anything that's made me think that's amazing. And, I take back the shoot myself thing. I would never
Yeah,
do
please
that.
don't.
Yeah.
You have so many tours and concerts to play still and
Yeah,
albums.
we need you
Yeah.
on stage.
I'd love to hear it, sounding organic, and that would blow me away. I mean, I've been blown away by so many like visual audio projects, but not to the point where I've thought, yeah, that's fantastic. Vocally, spontaneity, that kind of thing. It's it wouldn't surprise me if it happened because once humans embrace that kind of thing and have the ability to like work with it and I think it's completely possible, but like you got to keep the humanity in there.
Yeah, and speaking of that, like great organic music that has a soul, Saxon just released a new album, Hellfire and Damnation. And
That's right.
yeah, I wanted to ask you, I mean, Saxon is also kind of the pioneer of the new wave of British heavy metal. So where is this album in this context? How is this album different from all your previous albums?
I wouldn't say it's got any. I think the process is pretty much the same. Even if you consider that we got a new guitar player, like pretty much halfway, 3/4 of the way into the project.
Oh,
The only thing that changed there was that Brian Tatler was introduced into the public as our new touring guitarist, and then also that he was going to be working with us on the new record. We'd pretty much, I mean, I work pretty closely with Biff wherever I am, writing and just sending him stuff, and we were already working on, say, 10, 12 working ideas by the time Brian came to the band. Paul had already been working with some of his ideas with the band as well. We'd been working on it already for quite a while, but we'd like kind of got down to this point where I'd got a bunch of stuff that Biff was really happy with. Dougie had got some stuff in there, and Brian came in, and he'd already, because he'd been only really doing stuff with Diamond Head and not releasing record after record after record consistently, he'd got pretty much a catalogue of stuff that wasn't being used. And so he brought some new stuff to the band that Biff decided, wait a second, if I move that from that song vocally onto that idea, it matches perfectly. So, but that kind of goes on within the band anyway, so the only thing that was different there was that there was another band member, one band member moving out, one band member coming in with music. Biff moves some lyrics and vocals onto that music. That's going on in the band anyway, so the process wasn't really any different other than that.
mm-hmm.
It's like when when you've been doing it as long as we have, you recognize, oh, we've got something good here. Why change it? So. And so, nothing different really. Just building on what you've already got, and pretty much embracing being able to record and exchange ideas wherever you are in the world. That's something that we've really got into over the past 10 years. Being a little bit more flexible. We used to be kind of restricted in that we like to try and live all over the world and then come together and write in a 2-week period or something like that, and then go away and then analyze what you've got and assess what you've got and then come back together for a couple more final sessions or something like that. But that kind of restricts you. If you just, it's like sending a ship to the moon or something like that. You've got to, it's just so time specific, and climate and so many conditions you've got to all be in the right place at the right time and all tuned in musically to one certain thing, and bang, hope that it all works at that moment, and then go away. And yes, we're not androids, so I think technology's allowed us to be organic in our writing and idea sharing, and say, wait a second, let's delay it. We're not all ready for that session. Let's just keep it online, writing and comparing and stuff like that. I think, if anything, just being more flexible with our idea sharing is probably something that I wouldn't say is a big change. It's just something that's gradually growing. That we're all aware. I could be noodling under my blanket in bed with my guitar because the kids are just so noisy on the video games or something like that. Record it on my phone and send it to Biff, and he'll say, yes, that's what I'm talking about. And he's in Taiwan or something like that. But it just makes him think, yeah, that's what I was talking about. And that's made things so
convenient, right?
Seamless, It used to be, you had to plan projects so carefully, and now you can, if you can work with each other flexibly, it's great for us old timers, because we've seen the old analog world, and now what you can do is you just feel a lot more flexible. You just roll with it.
Correct. Sounds good. So basically on that matter, in your opinion, how does promoting music today compare to the methods used in the 80s or even the 90s? Talking about promotion now.
Well, it's complex, because there's so many channels that for people to people are looking at stuff all the time on their phone or on their PC or on a screen in the middle of the street, in a city. It can get dominated by the wealthy advertiser, and so I don't think that ever changes. If I've got that amount of money but somebody else has got that amount of money, basically that amount of money is going to do that amount of advertising. You can't even see my advertising going on in the background, so I think that will always be there, but I'm really not sure how to answer that other than that way. I don't think it's changed, other than it can be confusing because you just need to have a very simple, clear message as far as promoting goes. When you have bands like U2 who just are super global name, yet they will just stay in one place for a month and do shows. Things like that. Rammstein doing, what are they doing? Like 4 or 5 shows in one city, and then same venue. You know, it's almost like a residency, that kind of thing. But that's not that's touring. The promotion, I mean, in the end, that's the promotion itself is a huge event, you know. So promoting rock and roll concerts, it used to be more of a localized thing where you would see it on your town hall, you would see a poster or something, or at the record store. Now it's just all over. It's all, you know, if you've got headphones on, you're going to hear about it, whether you like it or not. You know, you need to know how to control your own devices and stuff like that to figure out, you know, do I want the advertising that I'm getting? You know, so I think promoting is probably using nefarious, like sneaky ways of sneaking into your life and just like making you hear something, making you see something. I think that's probably how promoting has changed. I mean, in the end, we all want you to come to our show. So if our promoter says, sold out tonight, Nibbs, what do you think? I'm not going to go up to him and say, I don't like it being sold out. I don't like your promotion techniques, you know. If a promoter can sell out our show, I think I'm going to be pretty happy. So how do you think promotion has changed in the
I mean, video interviews, definitely. What we're doing right now is something that
Exactly.
wasn't really possible in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Right. So now just another topic of music. How do you manage your time between Saxon and your other family and personal commitments?
Well, now pretty well, I would say. It's important to have good management, especially when you're not a localized band where you're all in the same city. Mm-hmm. You know, I think our band is pretty much trying to stretch as much as possible the possibilities of being a band and enjoying a family life as well. Yeah, you know, I have a wife and 4 children, and we have 3 children in Germany right now, 1 child here. Our youngest child is 18. He's like trying to do, well, he has already done a year and a half of high school here in Santa Clarita, and he's coming up to the end of that. He's a citizen now of the US, and 25 years ago wouldn't have been possible on our status, but now you can get about, and if, like I was saying, if you've got good management, then they're aware of what the band is trying to do. The band he's pretending he's American, he's pretending he's French, blah blah blah, and okay, central station is the management. If they can be aware of, okay, the band are like doing this, they're musically still creative, that's good, they're reasonably healthy, that's good, okay, then we can plan with that. And so it's critical to, you know, have a management that you trust and everything that goes along with that, you know, like promotion, agency and stuff like that. But this is I don't think that's going to be very interesting to like you know, upcoming new 12, 13, 14-year-old. You've got to be hungry for your music, that's for sure. I mean, over here where I am right now, I've actually got 2 children with me now. Our eldest son came over here a few days ago, so it's getting pretty crowded, and I'm leaving in a couple of days to go back into music touring world and stuff. I've still got basses and guitars here and my recording stuff with me. So, like I said, if it's not too noisy around the place or the weather's great, I'll sit out here and like get some ideas together and put them down and share them. That's fantastic. I know that I can do that. So I'm kind of working like in a hobby mood.
Mm-hmm.
But if it feels like it's got some like substance to it, then it's professional. Then it's like, okay, let's move that into that mode. And then, you know, over the last few years, I've realized that what was just a hobby years ago that turned into a profession, it's kind of like still that way, but it's easier to be a hobbyist and professional at the same time. And so I've really got to thank technology. It's amazing to be able to do that and share that about. So I'm able to manage my time. I think our band is able to manage its private and professional because we're allowed to. You know, we weren't allowed to so easily years ago. I think it's a generational thing. We've embraced like digital because it's like it's I don't know. It's like it allows us to be so far apart yet still connected and have some family. You know, I mean, so many bands are just like single, no children, and or separated because of like having to be so far apart from each other for long periods of time. And I'm lucky. My wife was in the business when we met. You know, we're roughly the same age, and we both like the same stuff at that period. You know, we were into music and totally musical. Not everybody's got that. And then when you realize, actually, bye, I'm going away for like 12 weeks. Do you still really like each other that much when you come back? You know, and you can change a lot as well when you're on a world tour. You know, your relationships certainly get like stretched. That's for sure. That's not something that you plan when you're in the music shop picking up your like maracas or like xylophone or whatever it is for the first time, and you think, yeah, that's me. I'm going to be a professional musician. You know, that's when that's when you can compare it to like a family or marriage. Then you really are taking an oath. It's the pick of destiny, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it sounds like. Hey.
Yeah, and before we're wrapping up, we still have some rapid fire questions for you.
Okay.
You can ask them as honestly as possibly. Do you want to go first, Alex?
Yeah, sure, I can. So, reflecting on high school days, were you the popular kid or the weird guy?
I was not very tall. I was until like high school, end of high school, 17. I was quite old for my year. I'm born in September. So this beginning of the school year, I was already almost a year older than people in school my year. But I wasn't tall. But I was really fascinated by soccer and anything to do with the ball, cricket, basketball, sports. I couldn't run very fast or very far, but on a soccer pitch I was pretty good. So I was kind of popular because people, you know, I would in a schoolyard I would be always busy with a Coke can, soccer or tennis ball. That was good, but academically I wasn't very strong. I was always interested, like in English or sciences I was interested in, but I couldn't apply it very well. And I'm not sure if I've got a hearing problem or an attention problem, but I was happy to be at the back of a classroom, you know, and not really be involved. And I know that's
Okay.
that's pretty common with kids that have an attention problem, and so I don't think I was seen as weird, and I don't think I was unpopular. So somewhere in the middle, somewhere in the middle. Minimum to average bullying. I would happily like climb all over trees and buildings and steal light bulbs and throw them up in the dark with my friends and hope that they'd smash next to us. And pretty normal, I would say, somewhere in the middle. And and I liked all kinds of music. So, I wasn't Norwegian death metal at that point, or Stravinsky or anything like that. But I would probably appreciate what was going on all the way from those edges right through the middle and back out to the other side again. So,
the next.
Oh. My screen just went all like.
No, we see you still.
Yeah. Okay.
We see you.
Oh yeah, the next question would be: can you name a city or a place that you have visited where you absolutely want to go back to, and why?
Well, I liked Trondheim, Norway. I like Norway. I like any harbour towns. I liked Brisbane. That was on a river as well in Australia. And I definitely like Switzerland and the Alps in Switzerland. I also like Colorado. It's usually geographically something that I like. The nature, yeah. I think the reason my screen just went a little bit pale is because my battery's telling me this interview is about to end in the next 300 seconds. So
should we say goodbye to you? But it's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Let's say goodbye.
Super interesting to have you.
I'm still here, but it's telling me my battery's running low. But anyway, yeah, it's usually like geographical like mountains, rivers, or canyons, that kind of thing. Colorado, Interlaken.
Interlaken, interesting.
Yeah. I love those places.
So before the battery dies, maybe take a moment to share anything you want to share about, Saxon, your projects, anything special you want the fans to know.
Basically, I'd like people to check out the recent record that we've made, because it's got a new band member, and I think Brian fits in really well. The music that he brought to the band has hardly changed from when he wrote it. So what he brought to the record is like his style, and it's not that different from what we were already doing. So that's a great thing. I think it's pretty interesting how a band can change identity right in front of your eyes and your ears, and still like sound like the band that it was, And we're looking forward to bringing these songs out on the road. Going to be doing that hopefully all over the world. So far it's Europe and the States, and please check out our album and check out our shows if you can. And hey, been a pleasure.
Thank you for us too. It was amazing to have you, Nibbs, and super interesting what you told us.
Thank you so much. I guess we can come to an end, because otherwise the battery will die, right? So
yeah, sorry about that.
No problem. We had already such a great chat with you.
All right, so we've had a blast chatting with you. Big thanks for sharing your stories and insights. We'd love to have you back anytime.
Okay.
Yes. And
Remember,
all the best for your tour.
Yeah, well, maybe check us out somewhere. We're gonna be coming to Greece and Sweden, I would think, and Finland. So.
All right, so possibly see you there. And
okay. Take care.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye now.
I'm alive.
You're alive. The battery is still like working. And guys, remember, book now for an unforgettable experience.
Your metal adventure awaits.
Stay metal.
Take care.